Hey, Tom, thank you so much for taking some time this morning, wrapping up the trip to Costa Rica. Am I right?
Yes, we leave this morning in about 3 hours.
Fantastic. Well, I got to tell you, I am so excited about the incredible response that we have from our community really jumping into this survey. I want to acknowledge everyone who took their valuable time to give us this information, this feedback. We're going to talk a lot about what we're doing with all of this information toward the end of this particular session. But I wanted to start out by reviewing some of the material because it's quite fascinating what we're seeing. First of all, our very first question, do you eat organic food? Dr. Tom, I was so excited. Literally, well over 50% of the people have been listening to you. And they said, yes, most of the time we do. There's a strong percentage, well, about 15% that eat organic food always. What can you say to acknowledge those people? I mean, that's great.
Yeah, that's really fabulous. And they're not only listening to me, there are many people have been talking about this. And I want to now acknowledge all of my friends. I by no means am the creator of this concept. I'm just along for the ride saying, we all need to do this. We need to wake up to what we're putting in our bodies, that you can't taste some of the pesticides that are on tomatoes or on broccoli. You can't taste it, but it's accumulative in your body. And everyone's understanding it's the accumulation of the toxic environment inside our bodies that's causing us to be much more sensitive to inflammation. So as we reduce the amount of exposure we're having, our threshold to fight whatever our body's dealing with, the threshold goes up, and then we don't cross the line. So every time we make a decision between organic or non-organic, and we take organic, we're reducing the toxic exposure that we're potentially going to take in. For example, organic carrots versus non-organic carrots. You think, well, the organic carrots are 85 cents more a bag. Well, that's a small price to pay for the amount of toxins that your family is going to get with the inorganic carrots. And so every little piece like that we do, where we make the choice, I'm going to take care of my body a little bit more, is another base hit in winning the ball game. And sometimes, if your daughter wants strawberry shortcake, of course, gluten-free shortcake, but if your daughter wants strawberry shortcake for her birthday party, and the only strawberries available are the inorganic ones, that there are no organic strawberries available, you get what what you need for your family. I mean, for your daughter's birthday, that's a big event. Of course, you're going to do it, but whenever you can, you're trying to reduce the load so that we don't build up inside with this toxic load, cross the line. The inflammation markers inside of us go so much higher, and now the little things we have a harder reaction to.
Now, Dr. Tom, quick question for you, because one of the things that we saw from the unbelievable amount of comments that our community is leaving, which, again, I want to acknowledge and thank everybody for their time for that. You people are amazing, fantastic, incredible. One of the comments that comes through over and over is the difficulty in helping other family members who are not quite on the program about, hey, organic is important. It is about the toxic buildup. What can people say? Because I think a lot of what we're going to be doing, Dr. Tom, to help people get these base hits is giving them tools, vocabulary, information, communication methodology so that they can get this message across and take care of their whole family, not just themselves. What can they do?
Yeah, have patience and work with Maitri. Loving kindness, that Tibetan word, loving kindness and an unconditional friendship with oneself. Think of how long it's taken you to go more organic or predominantly organic or exclusively organic. How long did it take you as an individual? That's my Christmas cookie story. It took me 8 years to give up Christmas cookies. 8 years. So if you have patience and kindness, and not try and jam it down your family's throat, but rather just point out the information that's available. And when they hear it again and again and again, oh, isn't that interesting? And I just heard about this point. And then the accumulative data coming in to your family. And when you explore with great recipes that we're going to give you, and you make these things that taste really great, and they say, oh, that was really good. It was organic, or it was gluten-free, or it was... We just had pizza last night. that was gluten and dairy free. And it was unbelievable. This German machine that made the vegetarian cheese, and it's with brewer's yeast. And I have no idea how they did it, but it was unbelievably good. We were startled by it, and it was like a farewell dinner for us. And so they went way out of their way to do this really fabulous. It was so good. So when you have those small wins with your family, they'll come on board. You just have to be patient and just continue the little bits and pieces of information to them.
Yeah, you know, it's so funny. We were at the farmer's market Saturday morning, day before yesterday, with no pesticide heirloom tomatoes. Oh my gosh, yeah. They're so incredibly delicious. We finished one big old huge gnarly looking one. You know, we got to have another one of these. They're just so good. And we're going to provide lots and lots of information. So speaking about that, here's one that was kind of interesting and, you know, not unexpected. And that is that most, literally almost 70% of the people, a few people frequently, but about 70% occasionally have fried food. What do you have to say about fried food? I know your stories about the fried pickles and everything else, so you're just as guilty as the rest of us. But what can we do to help educate people that this is really not the greatest thing you can put in your body?
Yeah, keep educating yourself. First, be kind. Be kind to yourself. And as you reduce the need or the desire for those fried foods, you'll have less. How do you reduce the desire? Have great alternatives so you get good fats. Fat is not bad for you. Bad fat is bad for you. We must have fat in our bodies. We need it. It carries more efficiency in terms of energy than proteins or carbohydrates. Fats are for energy. And so we must have fats. So you just want good fats. We're going to teach all about the good fats, you know, the avocados, the good oils, the nuts, all those ways. We've come up with a great dessert that we've had every day here now. And it's chia seeds with almond milk and ground up mango or pulverized papaya. And it's unbelievably good.
That sounds really good.
Holy cow. It's really satisfying. And chia seeds are a great source of the omega-3 fats, the good fats that our bodies need. So as you replace with more good fats, you know, the base hits, maybe once a week you come up with a new recipe of good fat meal. And then a couple months down the road, you've got 6, 7, 8 different recipes your family loves. You're just throwing them out there a little more often. The desire for the bad fats will diminish. Mm-hmm. It will diminish when you have enough of the good fats.
Same question, but with processed sugar. We found that in our survey, the response was virtually identical, around 60%, not quite as many occasionally eating processed sugar as there were fats. But what can we say about that processed sugar versus all other alternatives?
Same concept. Same concept is be kind to yourself and just keep looking for the little wins. Have a little success with this recipe, little success with that one. I realized that I've been having too much sugar on this honeymoon of mine. And where do I get the sugar? I put about 3/4 of a teaspoon in my coffee in the morning. And after a while, I said, you know what? I'm just having too much of this stuff. I really shouldn't do it this often. And so I'm looking for alternatives. And what I found is that when I do pure, because I like coconut milk in my coffee also. So I put a pure coconut milk and I put a little bit of almond milk in there that's vanilla flavored. I don't need any more sweet. And so, you know, I find an alternative. You'll find alternatives. Just be patient and kind with yourself. Don't say, I'm not having sugar ever again, because that's nonsense. You've grown up with it. Of course you're going to want sweets. Of course you've got a sweet tooth that's not going to go away. 3 years from now, it may be gone or much reduced, and you're not having sugar cookies anymore, you know, but you've got to be patient and kind with yourself and understand it takes time, and we're going to guide you on how to do that.
So interesting, as we move on to dairy products, this was the one that, again, the occasionally is going down, but this is one where, unlike fried foods and sugar, quite a few people, over 10% of the people, daily or almost daily, doing some kind of dairy, frequently 15 to 20% of the people doing dairy, and the never doing dairy was literally only about 25%. So it seems like the biggest education gap we have right now in terms of dairy, in terms of the sort of the big ones, the sugar, the gluten, and the dairy seems to be lagging a bit behind. What do you have to say to that?
As you learn more about the science, without all the geek stuff, but just like in my book, there's a whole chapter on this, and you learn things like the studies that show in Asian cultures, like Japan, before the Western diet got there, there was hardly any evidence of osteoporosis. And in one generation, when dairy got into their culture, the incidence of osteoporosis just went like this. And to where within 2 generations, it was neck and neck with the US in terms of the frequency. Osteoporosis is one of the top 5 killers of women over 60 because it's the complications of a broken hip, and very, very deadly for an elder woman. The cultures that didn't have dairy had almost no evidence of osteoporosis until they brought dairy in. And you see studies like that and you go, wow, well, that kind of challenges that whole thing that I grew up with, that I need dairy to build strong bones. And you just start seeing these little bits of science that challenge what was ingrained in us when we were kids. And when you see that, then you start saying, well, maybe it's not essential. Well, I sure like the taste, or I sure like my pizza. But when you get the information to let go of the necessity of it, because we've all been ingrained to think it's necessary for humans to survive. No, it's not. Breast milk is when you're an infant. Breast milk is not cow's milk. Cow's milk is alternative that has saved millions and millions of lives. No question, but it's not essential to us. And so you get that essential factor out of how we think, then it's the taste factor and the comfort factor. And that's what we're going to address is, so we'll give you a little bit of the science so you can kind of wrestle with it. And here's the link to the study if you want to read the study all the way through. And then we're going to give you the recipes, and we're going to give you the ideas of how do you start to transition over. And you do it with base hits, and you'll win. You'll win the ball game.
Yeah, I was so excited to see the moving on to fresh vegetables, and we're literally talking about with either frequently or almost daily, almost 90+% of people. So I just wanted to acknowledge everybody out there for paying attention, listening to Dr. Tom talk to you about the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15 and what we can do. Great. Now, there were 21 people who answered our survey, 21 who said, at 21 out of 10,527, 21 who said they never eat fresh vegetables. What do we say to those 21 people, Dr. Tom?
We'll put that on your tombstone.
Okay.
Okay. So if you're willing to experiment and try some little base hits to see if you can get acclimated to vegetables, if you're willing to experiment, great. If not, don't do it. Don't do it. And try to be healthy. Look at the biomarkers. If you learn from us about the biomarkers and you look for those, you say, wow, that biomarker is not good according to what they say. Wow, that marker is not good, well, according to what they say. But, well, wait a minute. All right, maybe I should eat some vegetables. Maybe I need some more. I mean, if you're willing to explore and experiment with it, you'll see where your body most likely is not getting everything it needs.
So thank you very much. And I think we're all pretty hip to that. Obviously, well over 90% of the people that took this survey either frequently or daily eating fresh vegetables. Very, very excited about that. Grass-fed beef, very, very interesting. We had a lot of people. I was surprised. Over 30% of the respondents were always eating grass-fed beef, and 20%, so 50% total, frequently. So clearly that message has gotten through about the difference between grain-fed and the chlorophyll that comes from the grass that goes into our systems. Again, 2 words about the chlorophyll for those who haven't heard that from you, Dr. Tom.
Yeah, cows eat grass. That's what they're supposed to eat, and weeds and other things. But they take the chlorophyll that's in the the green plants, and the chlorophyll gets converted into a fat, a really good fat called conjugated linoleic acid, CLA. CLA helps your body in a number of ways. The first thing it does, it helps you burn more calories, because CLA feeds the bacteria in your gut that burn more calories and store less calories. And it's always in balance, right? You know, so it's not like you aren't going to store your energy. Of course you are, but you're not going to store excess energy when you have adequate amounts of CLA. It really helps the bacteria in your gut that are encouraged to grow as a result of eating foods high in CLA. That bacteria helps your body burn calories, and keep a balance so that you're storing enough, but not too much. That means you don't get fat. So that's why the studies show if a person keeps their exact same diet, and doesn't do anything different except take CLA every day in a capsule form, in 1 year, they've lost an average of 1 pound a month.
Wow.
So about 10 to 12 pounds in a year just by taking CLA. Now that doesn't sound like a big deal for someone that has to lose 50 pounds, but take 1 year of doing this and multiply by 5 years. Now you've lost 50 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, the studies show that's the mechanism that's occurring without any calorie counting. People did everything else the same. So when you get your CLA from grass-fed beef, you're getting small amounts of it on a regular basis, feeding the good bacteria in your gut that keep the balance between Bacteroides and Firmicutes. That's the calorie hoarding and the calorie burning bacteria. So when you get that balance correct, you don't gain more weight. You know, you don't store extra fat.
Well, which is really important, and we'll talk about that in just a second. We'll get down to that. Very excited also to see that literally 75% of the people taking this survey are eating wild-caught fish. Yeah. A few didn't know, a few were kind of unfamiliar with why this is important, and probably have grown up with just the idea that, hey, you're supposed to eat fish. Fish is good for you. A couple of words on why wild-caught is so much more important and so much better for you than farm-raised. And what farm raised can do to you at this point.
Yeah. We talked about the farm raised a lot in the Dirty Dozen, foods to avoid. You know, the top 10 foods to avoid. Scientists have known forever that in the progress of civilization, as our ancestors progressed in their ability to survive and have a longer life, consistently, a primary contributor to that was eating seafood. Consistently, the cultures, the civilizations that were closer, got some birds here the parrots are all over here, which is very cool. But the cultures that were around the oceans, they expanded their survival skills, development of tools was quicker than cultures that were more inland. And it's because they were eating more seafoods, which had the good fats, that control the building of new brain cells, which help your brain cells communicate better. We went through all that in the Lazy Susan concept, that it's fish, it's clams, it's ocean foods that are so good for us. They're a great supply of the good fats. That's the primary reason why as a people, we need ocean food, we need seafood. And the farm-raised foods are just loaded with DDTs and PCBs and toxic chemicals, toxic levels of copper in the farm-raised salmon because of the gates. They paint the gates so the fish can't swim off into the ocean. They paint the gates with the zinc copper paint to keep the algae from growing on the gate so water can go through. But the paint is very high in copper, so farm-raised salmon are very high in copper because the copper leaches off the paint. So you eat what you think is a healthy piece of fish, a salmon, and it may be very toxic with copper. And when copper accumulates in your body, there's all kinds of diseases that can happen because of that. It affects your eyes, it affects your nervous system, it affects your blood vessels. So we want, like everything else, we want to avoid the toxicity whenever we can, in our air, in our water, in our food, because as the toxic level goes up in our bodies, the function of our bodies goes down, right? We've got more inflammation, more activation of the immune system, more autoimmune mechanisms occur. So the primary focus is to continue to reduce the toxic load every way you can. And just go for base hits. Always keep going for base hits.
Thank you very much. Makes total sense. We're really glad to see. I mean, I'm awed and astounded and delighted to see how many people are paying attention to their health, part of our community, talking about supplementation and what we call nutrition also. Daily or with all meals, literally 80% of the people are taking nutrition and supplements. What can you say to the 350 or so, actually 345, that have a never take supplements or never take extra nutrition? What would you say to those folks?
Once again, if you're willing to hear information, if you're not, if it's a defiance like this, well, we'll put it on your tombstone, But if you're willing to just hear information, you and I are designed like Tarzan and Jane. We have the same genes. We're supposed to live in tropical climates like where I'm so lucky to be at this moment. We don't have fur to keep us warm in the winter. We're supposed to eat organic produce growing on the trees, whatever we can find to eat. Now, we've developed our civilizations much more since then, but that's how our bodies are designed. We're only supposed to fight saber-toothed tigers once in a while, not very often at all. We're supposed to have a very peaceful life. Technically, it's called parasympathetic dominance. We have two nervous systems. We have a calm, relaxed nervous system called the parasympathetics. That's supposed to be dominant most of the time. And then you have the fight, flight, or fright, which is the sympathetic nervous system. That's to save your life, to fight a saber-toothed tiger or to save your life. Our ancestors lived in parasympathetic dominance. Their main concern was finding enough food. And occasionally they have a saber-toothed tiger, right? But they were calm and relaxed most of the time. Most people have a hard time remembering the last time they were calm and relaxed. That we live in sympathetic dominance all the time in our cultures. You drive to work and you think nothing of a car going right by you at 65 miles an hour. You're doing 60s, or 85 miles. They're going right, and we just take it easy. But we see it. We see the car coming up in the rear view mirror, and we're aware and we're ready to go. And we're staying in our lane, but we see all this stuff going on all around us when we're driving. Your nervous system is registering all this and evaluate. The foods we eat, when we eat foods that aren't really good for us, chemically, it's a stress, and we're having to do something, adjust to that chemical stress. We live in sympathetic dominance. That's my point. When you live in sympathetic dominance, you age prematurely. The technical term is you wear down your telomeres. But when you're in sympathetic dominance, it's kind of like you're on the highway of life, and you're going along in the highway of life, and you're in third gear, and you have to give the car a whole lot of gas to keep up with everybody else. So you're in third gear, and your RPMs, the engine's going like this, which I talked about last time. And if you shift into fifth gear, you can go a little bit faster or the same speed more effortlessly in the car. But when you're in third gear, when you're in sympathetic dominance, you're burning more gas. You're burning more fuel. You're using up the car much quicker because it's straining, as opposed to being in fifth gear, cruising, purring. So most of us, we have our transmission in third gear of life, and we're straining in sympathetic dominance. You need more nutrition because you need more gas to go the same distance. If I'm driving from Chicago to Detroit, which I did many times in my life, it's a 5.5-hour drive. And if I'm driving in third gear and the RPMs are really high and the car goes like that, the tank of gas won't make it to Chicago or to Detroit. But if I put it in fifth gear, the tank of gas gets me almost all the way there. I can go much further with less effort. So when you have enough nutrition, you go further with less effort. That you're going to run out of gas. That if you were living in the jungles and you had a calm, peaceful life every day, having time for prayer, having time for meditation, you don't need vitamins. Eating all organic food, you don't need it. But that's what your body's designed to be doing. And given that we don't live that kind of a life, we need more fuel. That's where the supplements come in. That's why when you do the right tests, you see, all right, do I have enough vitamin A? Do I have enough protein? Am I getting enough of the good fats for my brain cells? As you start learning all these little things, oh, look, that biomarker says my good fats are low. Okay, I better take some more good fats for a while. And then you find your body in a few months down the road is working so much better for you.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Thank you very much. So a big question came up here. And by the way, I want to encourage everybody, this particular video, we're going to go a little bit longer than usual because the information is so important. So if you need to watch it in a couple of sessions, please come back. One of the things that I've really wanted to address, and you're doing a fantastic job, Dr. Tom, is to help people get the information to take back to their families to get another base hit. And that's why we're kind of walking through all of these questions to give people what they need, especially if you're the chief health officer of your family, then you want to know these things. So when the question comes up, you can really respond to that. And that leads me to what probably was the biggest deficiency that I saw in the entire survey after learning what I have from you, which is very few people are hip to how often enzymes, or how big of an impact enzymes can have. Literally 60 to 70% are in the never or only once in a while taking enzymes, particularly with the gluten problem creeping in everywhere. Can you address why? I mean, it's made such a huge difference for me in my life. I know when I don't take them, I don't feel good often. I have to be so careful, and I carry them everywhere now. They're in my Dop kit, they're in my briefcase, they're in my supplement little baggies that we make up on a daily basis. Why enzymes can make such a big difference and why they're so important?
Oh, they're critically important for a number of reasons. The primary one is that we don't produce adequate amounts of enzymes anymore. You know, I found a paper, 3 papers actually, this last week. 50% of the world's population now, 50%, 50, has a bacteria infection in the gut called H. pylori or Heliobacter pylori. So a lot of the burping, the belching, the upper gut, the stomach problems, the bloating after meals, it may be because of a bacterial infection. This bacteria lives in your stomach. When it lives in your stomach can't make enough of the hydrochloric acid that you need to break down your food. There's a reason why the first digestive enzymes that greet the food after you swallow it is hydrochloric acid. It's potent stuff. You put a drop of hydrochloric acid on a wood table, it eats the wood. But it can sit in your stomach all day long, every day, because your stomach has these cells, they're mucousy cells that allow the acid to sit there, just kind of waiting for the next bit of food to come down. When you have this bacterial infection, you don't have the mucus anymore. So now your stomach makes the acid that it's supposed to make to digest food, but you don't have enough of the mucus anymore, and you burn your stomach. You get heartburn, right? And you get ulcers. And H. pylori is notorious for that. So everybody's going to learn about that. We're going to show you what to do about that. But if you don't break down your food, proteins are like a pearl necklace, right? Hydrochloric acid in your stomach undoes the clasp of the pearl necklace. Now you have a string of pearls. Well, you can't absorb that string of pearls to get the protein to make new cells, bone cells, brain cells, kidney cells. You can't take that pearl necklace. It's got to be broken down into each individual pearl. And that's what our enzymes are scissors to break down the pearl necklace so it's small enough to get right through the intestines into the bloodstream, and your body can make new bone cells, brain cells, kidney cells, muscle cells. Every time you exercise, you're exercising and breaking down muscle tissue so that you build back more. Well, you can't build back more unless you have the raw material to build back more. And you can't get the raw material unless you can snip the proteins small enough to get them into the bloodstream. So there are so many reasons why we need enzymes. They're just critical to everyday function. And humans now, Western civilization, the way we've lived our lives, we're notoriously low on having enough enzymes. Very, very common, very common.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Very pleased to see that the coffee drinkers among us, not that, very few are on the all day long mode. As a matter of fact, just 170 out of literally over 10,500. So people, moderation, coffee is looking very, very good actually. And water, also tremendous, literally almost 60%, 5+ glasses a day. And if you look at what kind of water, 70% filtered tap water. So pretty good on 3 categories, right? What do you say to those guys that are just doing it right?
The healthiest water you can drink is what comes out of your tap through a good water filter. That's the safest, healthiest water that you can get in general. You know, that's the very best. So way to go. You've got that one down. You're protecting your family. You're protecting your own health. Got to have a ½ ounce of water per pound body weight, ½ ounce. Yeah, so if you weigh 140, that's 70 ounces of water a day. So count it out and you say, oh my gosh, I'm not drinking enough. And when you drink enough, just make a point for 3 days. Just make sure to drink that amount of water, ½ ounce per pound body weight for 3 days. Notice how you feel. Yeah, you're gonna go to the bathroom more. You're gonna pee more. Yes, you're flushing out toxins. But notice, say, you know, I feel pretty good. And then go back to the old way of 1 or 2 glasses a day and notice how you feel in a couple days. When you're conscious about this, you see, wow, those little things really help. They really help a lot. I just feel better. And then you'll drink more water.
Exactly right. Exercise. Interesting. Happy to see that most of our community is involved in exercising. A lot of walkers. We had a lot of walkers. Many people, 30%, 4 times a week. Another 30%, so 60% either 2 to 3 times or 4 times plus per week. And walking was the most common form of exercise by far, 60+%. What do you say to the walkers of the world?
Way to go, way to go. Our ancestors walked all the time. That's what they did, sometimes uphill, downhill. And if you don't have hills around, then you know you're doing your walk on flats. That's great. One of the ways you can enhance your walking benefits is get some weights that wrap around your wrist. You know, they're with Velcro. You can get them at the local store. Get the ones that are adjustable that you can put little weights inside of them, and start with like a ½ pound on each wrist. Not much of anything at all. Make sure your shoulders stay down when you're walking. And you know, you see some people sometimes are doing this when they're walking. They do a bunch of exercises, you know, they do all that. But just get some light weights, and in a month, add like a ½ pound to that, or a ½ pound. And in another month, add another ½ pound or ½ pound. And what you'll notice in your walking, all of a sudden, 3-4 months down the road, you're in the shower, you get out of the shower, you're toweling off, and you look in the mirror and say, oh, whoa, look, I got biceps, wow. And you're getting biceps because you know you're building your arm muscles as a result also of your walking. So you get more bang for your buck. And you're building a little more muscle with it. So way to go with what you're doing. And that's a little pearl how to enhance it a little bit. For others, for the execs out here, I have seen it consistently be a great, great benefit, and that is a walking working station. So just Google walking working stations, and you'll see lots of different options for that. But I've had guys drop their cholesterol over 100 points in 6 months, and they've shed 15 pounds, 20 pounds in 6 months just by having a walking working station. And you said it's like a treadmill, and you've got a desk here, and you just have it at a ½ mile to 1 mile an hour, really slow, just nice casual walking, just doing your thing while you're on the phone talking or on your computer. It takes a while to get used to doing it, you know, but you will. And the 6 months down the road now, you're at 1 mile an hour, and you've trimmed down. Guys, you got more of an Adonis look, shoulders tapered down to the waist, because you're using these muscles in the midsection all the time. You're just burning a few calories all the time. So for walking, you don't have time to walk. You work in an office, consider a walking working station. There's a transition time, you know, to it. Maybe you do it at home first. You'll figure out how to do it. But once you've transitioned, being kind to yourself, not expecting to do it all 8 hours a day right away. But what you'll notice down the road is, oh, this is great. This has really helped me a lot. So high five to everyone on walking. It's just great.
Absolutely outstanding. So moving into another little bit of a section here that I wanted to let everybody know that it is so valuable to us that you take your valuable time and do these surveys, because we are literally shaping a program with Dr. Tom's life work to do whatever we can possibly do to help you change the destiny of the health of your family. So thank you for what you're doing. We are working day and night behind the scenes. And I want to ask you to please watch for a little notification in your inbox. If you'd like to be among the first people to find out about our program, we'll be sending an email as soon as we feel like we're close enough. We're getting very, very close, but literally your responses make a huge difference. And one of the things that concern me, Dr. Tom, is that even though a lot of people doing very, very well, we're still seeing 45% of the people occasionally frustrated with their overall health, 25% most of the time frustrated with their overall health, and 15% always frustrated with their overall health. Is this back to the base hits again? What is it that we can do to say to people, you're doing a lot of things right? That level of frustration is just not acceptable. I know it's not acceptable to you, Dr. Tom. It's certainly not acceptable to me. We need to help some people.
Yeah, we do. And first, I also was really surprised to see how many people are implementing so many of these great lifestyle habits. It's wonderful to see, and way to go, and thank you. You know, it helped to change the world. Each one of you is helping to change the world by taking care of yourself and your family. You have to learn. So, and I don't mean this in a negative way at all, but it's like you guys are about graduating from high school, and in terms of taking care of yourself. You got the basics, you go out in the world, you get by and take care of yourself. But we're going to take you first 101. 101 is the first level, entry level college courses. And then it's going to go to 201 and 301 and 401. And for those that want, we'll take you to the master level. And then we're going to take you to the PhD level. So those that are working on it and frustrated, it just means you need more clear information on how to read the temperature gauges on your dashboard, the biomarkers, how to interpret them, and what to do, because your body, your specific body is saying, I've got this out of balance, or I've got this out of balance yet. And so you're on the right track, and we're going to help you dial it down. That's the goal here.
Thank you very much. Interestingly, in terms of how much people eat out, and I know one of the things we're going to be focusing on as some of the things that we're unveiling very shortly is how to help people continue their base hits even when they eat out. Because basically, we had close to 10% eating out 3 times a week, 20% eating out twice a week, once or twice a week, and then 60% sometimes. So there's a lot of eating out in our society. Only 14% were never, and a lot of those because they have very specific conditions that make it very difficult to eat out. One of the things we're going to do is help people, hey, when you're out, pay attention to this, and when you're out, pay attention to that, right. Because we know the dangers that are lurking out there and what we can do to help them out.
Yep, critically important. How do you talk to waiters and waitresses? And how do we engage them to protect you as they're getting your food for you in a restaurant? I'll give you one example. In 3 of the last 7 Japanese restaurants I've gone into, I've said to the waiter, and I say it all the time, please ask the chef if there's any flour in the sushi rice. And the waiter goes, what? No, there's no flour in the rice. It's rice. I understand. Please ask the chef. And sometimes they're a little belligerent at it, and then I just look them directly in the eye and say, please ask the chef. And so they walk away a little frustrated. They come, and you have to do that to protect yourself and your family. They come back 3 out of 7 times. They said, I'm so sorry, I didn't know. Chef puts a scoop of flour in the sushi rice to make it stickier. So you think you're going to a Japanese restaurant, everything's great, but 3 out of 7 times it's not. And you're getting an inadvertent exposure to wheat. And if you're trying to stay away from wheat because your body says it's a problem for you, because you've done the right tests and you see the biomarkers that say you got a problem with this, now you're getting exposure and you feel terrible the next day or later that night, and you don't know why. I just ate rice and some fish, and I don't understand why I feel bad. So that's you have to learn how to work with the waiters and waitresses and the chefs in the restaurants you go to, and sometimes you got to be a little bit of a pain in the butt to make sure you're protected. Because Because if you say, hi, please ask the chef if there's any flour in the rice, and it's, oh, no, there's no flour in your rice. Oh, okay, thank you, thank you. And there is, 3 out of 7 times, my experience, there was, and there is, then you're the one that's going to suffer. And so you have to be able to stand up for yourself in a way that's non-threatening, polite, yet firm. And I'll talk a lot about that kind of thing.
Yeah, and oh, by the way, taking those enzymes to help take care of those micro traces of gluten that we know are going to be there periodically.
Makes a world of difference. Absolutely right.
So we had about 60%, maybe 55% of the people saying they wanted to lose some weight. A very small amount of people said they wanted to gain some weight. 40% said they were doing just fine with that. I thought that was quite remarkable because it says that, hey, at least people feel good about who they are. And back to that Maitri and all that, I thought that was really, really great.
Yeah, I agree. It's been really pleasant to see how many people are putting the effort in and how many are feeling good about the results they're getting. And I have a little more to do, but I'm doing pretty good. You know, it's really nice to see that. Way to go, everyone.
So just wanted to finish out on a couple of notes here. Obviously, we have an astounding amount of people who so generously gave us their comments, their personal comments. We're talking about literally 8,700 personal comments. And as committed, we are reading every single comment. Everything that you say and tell us is shaping the future of what we're doing, what we're building behind the scenes, literally working day and night to get this done so we can change the world. Dr. Tom, what can you say thank you to all those people that are giving you the data you need to do what you got to do?
You bet. I mean, if you guys can imagine, you know, let's say your inbox and you boot it up in the morning and you've got 15 new messages. Oh my God, it's going to take me an hour and a half to answer every one of these messages, right? Imagine 8,700 messages. And we are reading every single one of them. We are. And it's because I'm very surprised by how well some people are doing, how much people know, and where they need help. And so it's really shaping how we're putting our messages together for you. So thank you so much for your efforts, and way to go. We're on this journey together, and this is our way of changing the planet, is by helping you be your better self, feel your better self, have the power of your better self, so you can go out and change the planet the way that you do, whatever that is. So thanks so very much for being a part of this.
And I just want to say again to everybody watching, look for a notification in your email inbox if you want to be among the first people to hear about the new program that Dr. Tom and our team is busting our hump on to get done and ready. And again, thank you so much for everybody giving us the feedback that we need to shape exactly what it is that is going to help you the most. Dr. Tom, your honeymoon is about to come to an end, my man. What do you have to say to everybody as you're getting ready to leave beautiful Costa Rica?
I am very grateful. You know, I'm learning more about gratitude and just being grateful for what life brings. And the more that I live in passion for what I am meant to do in the world, the more wonderful life becomes and the more opportunities show up. And so for all of you, our goal is that you can live your passion and have the body and the brain that's going to allow you to live your passion. So you can carry your joy of life out into the world and with your family. So thank you all so much for being a part of this with us.
Thanks, everybody. Say goodbye to the parrots for us, Dr. Tom, and we'll see you back on the mainland really soon. Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks for watching.